Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Yusuf Ramadhan. I want to report a handbook of educational linguistics. Uh, the books report by me, and the publishing is Spolsky and Francis M. Hult, 2015. Blackwell. I want to report this book in chapter 3. Okay, for the first one is, what is the linguistic theory? Linguistic theory is a term of linguistics useful reference to the theory language, a branch on linguistics that investigate the nature of the language and seek to answer fundamental questions like what a language is, or what all of them in a common. The aim of the theoretical linguistics can also be the construction of general theoretical framework for language description. That is the uh, linguistic theory definition. For the next is the fundamental links between education and language. There are five aspects that links between education and language. For the first one, it's language. Language is the main medium of education. The second is literacy. Literacy is a mode of language. It's the one of the foundation of education. Next is the verbal intelligence. Verbal intelligence is the most used prediction of education success. The next is foreign or second language. Is a traditional and important part of the school curriculum. The next is education. Education has a profound effect on language. Okay. For the next is linguistics theory, ideas versus models. According to Houston, 2004, divides theory into two areas called ideas and models. That idea is language is constantly changed in various models and how and why it changed. Also, ideas tend to be simple and easy to understand. So the main takes to both acceptance, prejudice, and emotion rather than understanding. In contrast, the model exists in the context of research that attract controversy and they complicated and hard to explain. It is the model. It is a model rather than the ideas that are live issues that deserve attention and debate. In short, linguistic models should be treated with caution, but linguistic linguistic ideas are tried, tested, and agreed. Okay. Next is why education needs linguistic theory. The main participant teach in this aspect. The main participants are teachers and pupils. Teacher and student must be taught and understanding about knowledge about language, often abbreviated to KAL. Uh, they have to understand explicitly how language works, and KAL must be started appropriately because the mother tongue is what students already know. Next, two main arguments for teaching KAL. For the first one, a deeper understanding of the language deserves a place in any liberal curriculum because of long-term intellectual benefits. For the second, KAL improve the language skills of writing, reading, speaking, and listening. According to Honda and O'Neill and Houston, linguistics is particularly well suited as a vehicle for teaching thinking skills and particular scientific thinking. And the next is the advantage of language as an area of inquiry. There are two aspects of advantage in linguistic in uh, language as an area of inquiry. For the first one is a vast amount of data are easily available either by introspection or by observation. So the children can easily formulate and test hypotheses about their language system. The second is language is an important tool for thinking. This means that the language is a communication tool by everyone in their daily life as a means to convey information and argument to the others. I have a conclusion here. Education is linguistic in several different curricular subjects and even arguably in a curriculum subjects. Next is some important linguistics ideas. There are nine important in the linguistic idea. For the first one is description or perception. Description tries to change the language by proscribing some form that are used and prescribing alternative rather than an description accept all form that are used. Linguistic based on the description and favor in the school teaching. For the second is variety or uniformity. Another important and related idea is variation. The idea that a language may vary across group and across time. Healthy language education celebrates variation in all its form, as manifest in dialects, genres, styles, historical periods, and language, and encourage learners to enrich their language repertoire. Language repertoire here means all language and all the varieties of a language that a person knows and speaks. It is someone who knows only one language, first language or second language, and three language. The next is form or function. Every unit on language combine a form with a function. For example, the word combine as pronunciation and spelling as a form with a meaning as a function. There are two aspects of a unit are conceptually distinct and they can be studied separately. For example, a word classification as a noun, adjective, or whatever is distinct from the function, it's a place in the building, and a sentence as the subject of the verb, modified as a noun, and so on. The function identifies the part is the place and the current sentence, whereas the word class identifies the range of potential part. The next one is synchrony or diachrony. Synchrony and diachrony are two different and complementary viewpoints in linguistic analysis. A synchrony approach considers a language at the moment in the time without taking its history into account. Synchrony linguistics aims at describing a language at specific point in time, usually present by usually the present. By a contrast, a diachrony approach considers the development and evolution in language through a history. The next about text or system, the written and spoken, the text in the language are conceptual. It means that the purpose of the text lies in revealing and describing grammar of the text, while a system of stored rules and vocabulary makes it possible. Texts provide evidence from the system and the system explains the text. Next is the leximism or inflection. In linguistics, leximism means the basic abstract lexical unit or the meaning of the word that underlines the various form of the word, while inflection is a word formation process in which a word is modified to express the different grammatical category. Next is about sound or letter. Written character or written character letter are much easier to talk about this thing about that sound because when we write the word and remember it in learning it much easier. The factor that makes sound confuse many people in learning because it's a similar when heard so that it's difficult to interpret a word just by hearing. The next is word or meanings. As with similar with sound and letters, the words are often confused with their meaning. However, many linguistics used italic word of the word and quotation marks of the meaning to distinguish the two words. For example, fox is a noun, but fox with quotation marks is a mammals. Next, and last, punctuation and grammatical structure. Grammatical structure is much harder to talk and think about than a punctuation mark. The points is when the student is taught about a grammatical law, with the punctuation will feel confused because it defines a sentence as a sequence of word delimited by a capital letter and periods, not as a sequence that is put together by grammar or devices. Children do not to stop completely at the end on their sentence before they have a grammatical understanding. The next is this linguistic models. There are 2 points in the linguistic models. Linguistic theory also includes the called models, which are complex packets of highly interconnected claims. But this model is important only for research. It is less relevant to the education. Linguistics does not have a supporting model. The model needed by education is a model of language structure, usage, and change. The main approach are called supermodel because the two of the linguistics models are the supermodel. They consist of a large set of assumption about linguistic aims and methods, talking to higher realms of ideology and even of politics. For the first one is relative linguistics. Relative linguistics is produced very detailed combined with extremely abstract generalization about all language. Noam Chomsky, whom many people believe to have turned linguistics into a science by showing that grammar are theories to be confirmed or disconfirmed by data, what called generative grammar. System linguistics in a, is a strongly oriented toward education, the direct opposite of generative linguistics. In systematic linguistics, education has been enriched by important ideas, such as a textual coherence, regress of the gender and the variation, and social meaning. Okay, that's all about linguistic theory.